Good evening to everyone and welcome to our webinar, What Do You Choose, Lean or Your Crown? My name is Laura Garretts and I'm Holistic Management Coach and Mentor of Lean, as well as founder of Consulting House Improvement. And before we continue, I would like to make sure that you all hear me loud and clear. So on your right side of the screen, you have a panel, control panel, where you can see this little hand of yellow. If you could lift it up so I can be sure you hear me. Yes, I see the hands. I'll wait for more. Good. Okay. So today we have 58 participants who registered, probably less listening. So variation is from 37 from Lithuania and 1 from Indonesia. Mostly all of us are still around the Baltic Sea, which is really great. For those who don't know us, we are holistic management coaches working with the companies who are commits actually to create management system delivering value. And we work mainly in Lithuania, some Scandinavian countries, and with Buckingham University in UK, we do a lot of practice with their Master in Lean Enterprise Education. Okay, I'm really interested to know your needs better and understand what actually drives your learning process during this webinar. So I have prepared 4 questions. And please be active and use the hand on your right side of the panel in order to answer those. So could you raise a hand, those participants who are actually practicing lean management in your companies? I'll try to calculate how many of you are here. Okay, it's pretty a lot. So the second question is, who of you are responsible for driving that change? Whoa, that's many hands. Good. Who of you often feel as a lonely warrior in this transformation journey? Okay, still plenty of hands. And the final question is, do you feel that the management thinking is slowing the change? Oh, wow, that's a lot of questions, a lot of hands, sorry. Yes, and if you have answered yes, and what you did, you actually have been raising hands in all these 4 questions. So I kind of guarantee you that you will receive lots of answers during the webinar, and we will leave you with some thoughts to do some reflection. Now, when we know how you feel, let's see how managers feel when we ask them to reflect on their current management system. These are the pictures of our all existing customers, and normally in the beginning of lean transformation journey, we ask them to draw, to reflect and draw the current management system with the little words as possible, and trying to put not only numbers, but as well as the people and how they feel in the system. So as you see, we have loads of top-down hierarchy pictures, a triangle up here, and there is a big arm with 3 big fingers. And normally what we see in these pictures, it is one trend saying command and control. So that command and control or conventional management is driven top-down. There's a top-down approach where basically the budget is the god, and when you ask the company to show their strategy, normally what they show their business plan, so to say, which is not the strategy. So there is a strong focus on financial measures, and we are deriving them different kind of KPIs to different functions and encouraging actually silo-based performance. Meanwhile, the customer is somewhere out there behind the fence trying to tell us something, but we are so busy proving each function's efficiency, so we're not even able to hear our customer. The other thing is, which is quite quite reflecting for me too, that for example, this company over here, the guy drawing that hierarchy pyramid, guess how many years they've been doing lean? 20 years of lean management, and they still got this top down approach, focusing on wrong arbitrary KPIs, and the budget is the god, and all the decision making is basically on the top, and there is a big gap between the managers and the people doing the work. Over here, you see a company which is just started on the lean journey, and people, they feel loads of stress. And I'm not talking only about the work-related stress. It is as well the psychological stress of feeling guilty, of not being able to reach the targets. And when we have calculated the variation of the process, we could see that the targets which been pushed down from the top were completely out of the range, since the processes were not able, people within the processes were not able even to reach those targets because they've been out of any kind of variation. Up here, there is a bank, a big company. It's 30,000 employees, and they had big troubles with the strategy deployment, since they've been hooked by X-Matrix or Ocean Canary, if you heard about that tool, and they've been deploying it vertically. At the end, this is what happened to them. As different kind of managers been having different kind of purposes. And if I would be going to one product line manager, he would be saying me, oh, our strategy is this. And the other kind of line manager would say, oh, our strategy is that. And then me, as a person who works and delivers value every day, I'm completely not clear where my company is heading and what's my purpose and how can I contribute to that strategy purpose. So these are all the companies who practices lean from 1 to 20 years. And you probably would like to hear why this happened, and I'm gonna tell you that. Meanwhile, we work very much with the senior level managers and have lots of individual reflection sessions with each of them individually. And the last CEO, I guess it was 3 weeks ago or 4, he actually sort of conflicted with himself and said that, Laura, you know what, our current management system is actually failing us, and we work as separate we work as separate islands in the system, as separate functions, having separate budgets, conflicting KPIs. And you know what, I see that each island has different agenda. It's like a hidden purpose for one island and for the other. But what we do, which disappointed him mostly, it is he was saying that we are spending time trying to prove that my island is better than yours. Meanwhile, the customers are waiting and we're losing the value. So now we went through the feelings and the status quo of how the change agents, the guys like you, feel within the transformation journey as a standalone persons. We went through how managers who are actually responsible for driving and keeping that change sustainable, how do they feel? And now we know how CEOs feel. So what good is about all those reflections still, that the willingness to move on is normally always there. It's just that either senior level managers or change agents, they are not they don't know actually how to break through a certain wall of resistance. And I will gonna show you where that wall normally starts in a lean journey. So as every journey, and you probably already experienced in your company, lean journey has as well certain phases of life cycle, and those phases can be quite different, and we can go to one destination and reach certain and implement certain tools and be very, very happy. and then we can go to further, more advanced tools, and then we will be disappointed since it's not going to be embedded in our habits. So it's always sort of up and down. But what we did, we have those 4 phases, which is based on our experience with our customers, define those 4 phases. So the first phase and the second phase, it is all about the strong focus on lean tools, meaning that we heard word lean and we didn't even looked at the purpose and who invented it and why it was invented in the first place, what kind of problems to solve in the first place it was invented. So what we do, we take it as a modern word and we say we want that too. We don't even know what's behind that, but we kind of wanna play around and see, maybe we're gonna like it. So what we here, we start the lean journey. We say, okay, it's a lean start. Let's try. Let's eliminate some waste. And by eliminating that waste, we're actually able to eat the low-hanging fruit, and it's not that difficult to make it happen, because normally that waste is all around, especially if you are in a production company. You can see it more easily rather than in service. And if you like it in the phase 1, then you say, okay, now we eliminated most of the low-hanging fruits. Okay, let's move on. Let's get some basic daily discipline. And if we're not very good at planning in advance or monitoring our projects, so let's start doing that. So the whole journey then is being on phase 2, being laid out on visual daily management mostly, and we put in different functions different boards. And then normally what we say it is that we need to measure, because if you're not measuring, you don't know, you cannot control your processes, you cannot control your people. This is a kind of underlying belief of the management regarding measures. So all those meetings, they are starting. We have loads of KPIs. We don't even know what those KPIs are for, basically. Sometimes they are as well delivered top down. And this is the reason why there is such a weak lean leadership and lack of understanding the purpose behind it, because it's not me together with my team who defined the measures. It's not us who understood why and how we're gonna do that. And the why is way much more important than what in the change. It is really, really important to let the people understand the why factor, and it takes time. And if you don't have time, then it's really a problem. Then you're not gonna actually go over that wall, which I will explain in a minute. And what the company does in the phase 2 is the main focus is on financial measures, because they get hooked by the KPIs and key result indicators. They say, okay, our strategy is to earn blah, blah, blah billions of euros, and we want to extend our market share to a certain percentage in certain markets. So they're measuring basically those outcomes rather than the process end to end. And this is where most of the companies trying lean stops, and that wall is critical. Our customers, all of them, basically all of them, we didn't work with any customers from phase 1, because we believe that in phase 1 and in phase 2, companies don't need consultants or trainings from outside. Really, I don't think it's needed, because it's just so many books out there, so many different courses, and you can drive to different companies and see how they do that. But over here, you don't need that. You are completely able to make it happen yourself. This is where you begin to need very much the mentors, lean mentors work, or trainers. It is on phase 3 and especially on phase 4. And this is where we are working mostly. So on phase 3, the main people who are driving the change is no one more than senior managers. Senior managers, they need to spend time at improving end-to-end customer journeys. They need to get rid of the thinking that we need arbitrary KPIs focusing on individual functions efficiencies. We need end-to-end measures. We are now acknowledging that actually our customer is traveling not vertically based on organizational structure. Our customer is traveling horizontally. And when they understand that, they are changing their mindset from focus mainly on financial aspect of measures, focusing on the customer's purpose. So this is called end-to-end, and it takes a while. It really takes a while to get under the new mindset for all the managers. And at the phase 4, we have the lean learning organization or enterprise, and it's even a higher phase. But it's only possible to make it happen once you've been here for a while. And many companies, when we say, okay, when we raise a question, where do you want to be if you are here? Normally they say they say that we want to be here, but we know that it's even not possible, because within a year or within 2 they will not be there. And depending on the size of the company, depending on the growth, it really takes time to be here before you can move here. Because up here we have one main term, which means that our strategy needs to be focused on the customers. And that means that the strategy, which we call our business plan, needs to be dropped. And normally it requires a very strong leadership from the senior level to make it happen. And if it's not happening, we will not gonna have the lean learning journey at the enterprise level. So over here we have strategy deployed horizontally, meaning that it's not cascaded only vertically, top down, and let's say I'm the CEO and I'm giving different functions, different budgets, and I'm providing you different targets, and then I sort of expect that suddenly you're gonna hit the budget, you're gonna hit my target. So it's not how the strategy should be deployed up here. And zero arbitrary measures, meaning that no focus on utilization and no focus on cost cutting. This is not the lean purpose. Okay, so phase 4 and phase 3, it is a strong customer, people, and leader focus. But basically, what you need to remember from this webinar, that there are these 4 phases, and in between phase 2 and phase 3, you will definitely need the help externally to get you to the next level. Okay, so what happens in that situation when you hit the wall? And I'm sure that you all have experienced that. These are different functions, and it doesn't really matter if you sales or service. It's just different silo-based KPIs. The sales has its own KPI, product development has its own KPI, and so on. And suddenly we are getting those smaller or bigger crowns, and not working to improve our processes, not working to improve our system, but we are working to prove that I am highly efficient and way more efficient than you up here. And you know all these stories, many managers been telling us that too. So how we as the change agents could help managers to understand the company as a whole and actually make them see the consequences of their decisions and overcome that wall from phase 2, so phase 3. And before I will reveal you the recipe, I promise to do that, and I will do that shortly. The thing what we need to know is that the way we can make it happen, it is do it not alone on your own, but involve all the senior and if you can, all the middle level managers into end-to-end customer journey. It means that we need to make sure that all of our senior level managers and middle managers, they can get into the customer's shoes, block the calendars, go out and study. And study what? End-to-end customer journeys. And that little crown up here is the thing which you as well need to be quite aware about and be humble. It is that each each human being, each of us has a certain fears and certain a willingness. And normally people in life, they make a decision either from fear or from motivation to gain something. So there are certain most, let's say, most seenable fears which I've met from manager's side. There's fear of losing control, fear of not delivering results, fear of showing that I don't know, and fear of making wrong decisions, and as well, fear of not delivering value. So this or these kind of fears, a combination of these, are actually holding that command and control archetype. And you won't believe how much it is based on fears, but it is. Okay, so this is the recipe. And what I want to highlight here, that this recipe wasn't created just by us. As I mentioned, we are studying at Buckingham's University Master in Lean Enterprise. And for the last 2.5 years, we've been traveling through 9 different companies with 11 very competent consultants, and including us. And we've been studying companies from service to production companies for 10 or for 5 days inside out with the senior level managers, and that this kind of recipe is completely blowing away the mindset of all managers, even those who've been on the lean journey for more than 20 years. And I will show you some cases after I've showed the recipe. Okay, so the recipe is here. We have senior and middle management system at the top of our hierarchy. The guys who are actually making decisions, the guys who are deploying the strategy, who are communicating it out, who are basically telling the people why and what, and trying to support them, or they think they do. And we have a system of work, but it doesn't really matter what size of company you are. Once you grow out from the family-run business, and it starts there, the gap is increasing. And the bigger you are more on the strategic objectives. You have expansive growth. You're more focused on financial measures. You've got your bigger gap. It is. This is what we noticed so far. And it's normal. So now why that gap exists? That gap exists since we up here as managers been taught for so many years in different business schools to manage the company based on numbers, based on budget data, on different kind of targets and measures, and that's what we do. We are very good to work at Excels. We're good, to work in our offices. Yes, we are quite good to work with our sales, with our customers and doing sales. But what we're not good at, it is to micromanage, because we are so afraid in getting into these details. And that micromanage thing is our underlying belief, because we think that we, as the managers of this kind of level, we should not be able to micromanage. We should not be able to know all these small details within the processes. Well, so to say, what we need to do, it is we need to understand where there are the leverage points in our system in order we could improve it. So it's gonna give us the strategic, it will help us to reach the strategic objectives. So what we need to do is study together end-to-end customer journey. Why it is important to highlight together. If you go out as the change agent or as the lean or process manager, and you study by yourself and you bring back all your recommendations, you probably have done that and you know how it will end. You are not going to be able to change the minds. It would be the same as we, as lean mentors, would step into the company, would walk the customer journey without the senior level manager or managers, and would give them recommendations. They would say, bye-bye, girls. We don't believe that. We know better. The fear, it's their fear, begins to talk. So there is a very important message here that you, as the lean managers or change agents, need to learn how to make the intervention in a humble way, being able to sort of to show the senior managers, to make them see for themselves what are the consequences in the value of work from their decisions. So what they do normally, they are studying customer demand all the way from where the requests are arriving, or it can arrive in different kind of ways. It can be by email, by phone. It can be that the customer came to your branch, and then how it is processed during the whole system. And you need to be aware of where are the constraints and where are the scarce resource which you are sharing together till the customer receives the good. And what they see when they walk that journey, and it takes some time. It's not enough to do it in one day, no, really. It takes some time. When they see that all together, they understand themselves. And this is the point. They understand themselves. It's not you pointing it out. It's not us pointing it out. We make it happen so they understand it themselves. They understand that the company's purpose does not reflect the customer's purpose. Basically, that the company's purpose is finances or whatever. That arbitrary targets and measures are all around. There's no variation. It's just some kind of, I don't know, some kind of numbers which you cannot even explain why we even have it, why we set that target. Capacity constraints are ignored. If there are some companies from you who are production or service, and you have certain things which has limited capacity, you need to focus all of your sales on that limited capacity. You cannot just ignore it, because then it's going to create even more chaos. Loads of failure demand, decisions made top, our people are having low morale, we're not engaging them, we're not listening to them, and the local improvements are focused on local efficiencies, and that is driving even more waste into the system. And all of that we called lean. Okay, so it may sound now overwhelming, but I will gonna show you two cases, one from UK company now, and the other one from Lithuanian company. And since most of you are from service companies, so I've chosen to show cases from two service companies. This is the ambulance center in UK, Welsh ambulance center, having 3 million people, serving 3 million people in the district. So it's basically Lithuania, Lithuania wide and big, and 3,000 employees working for them, and 100 of them in their own call center. So you see there's a call center with as well KPIs, red, green, notice. 900 vehicles, both emergency and non-emergency, and senior level managers and middle managers, they've been focusing on three main targets, and those three targets been as well reported to the board. It's a 1-minute phone call, dead mileages, and vehicle utilization. You probably have heard about these targets, I assume. So what we've done is, together with our senior and middle managers, we've been studying the system as the whole for 2 weeks. It took exactly 14 days. So 1 week in June, 1 week, it was in April, the other week in June, but it was something overwhelming. It was completely changing and blowing out the mindsets of the senior level managers as well as us. So what we've done with the senior level managers for a day and a half, all of them been listening to 150 phone calls, which call center receives every day from non-emergency and emergency people or customers, because the ambulance center is not like in Lithuania. In UK, they are providing two services, non-emergency and emergency service. So we've been studying non-emergency services since over there was most of variation, and it was quite difficult to manage all those dead mileages since the company got so many dead mileages. And dead mileage means that we are sending a car to pick up a patient and the patient is not ready, but the car has driven to a certain hospital or to a certain home to people and to pick them up, but they are not ready or they have canceled their appointment. What they understood from that demand, that certain things, that there were 3 types of failure demand. Now, so you would be able to understand what is the difference between value adding and failure demand. I need to tell that the failure demand is when the customer is calling, writing, or coming to you and asking questions: when, why, how, what the hell, where have you been, and etc. So they have received 3 types or categorized 3 types of failure demand. The first one was, it was hospitals calling to the ambulance to tell that, oh, we cannot release the patient yet, we haven't prepared them yet, please cancel the vehicle. And the vehicle is already standing at the hospital and waiting for the elderly person to bring him home, which is the money already costing, and the dead mileage KPI is just becoming more red. The second type of failure demand was when elderly as well, people who've been forgetting the appointments with the doctors, they've been calling to call center to confirm or to remind them when is their next visit to the doctor. And the third one, it was when the hospital's been calling to as well to tell them that we made your patient ready, where is the car? So what they understood, the senior level managers, that the KPI, they had service level agreements, KPI with hospitals called SLAs. So maybe some of you know that kind of KPI, been completely wrong since the hospitals were not being in a partnership. And what happened there, those dead mileages, was the cause of dead mileages was actually not that drivers were not able, to plan the route better or in an efficient way. It was because the hospitals were not working in a partnership together with this ambulance station. So they even had the route planning unit, which was created in order to minimize dead mileages. You won't believe that, but it's actually those things are happening. So that route planning unit was created to make sure that our drivers are driving an efficient road to make the dead mileages look like less. So it's just complete waste of money. And those people knew that the people are the chauffeurs, they knew the roads and the routes very well because they are local people. And the other thing was that always on Mondays there was a high peak of phone calls, and people were not able to actually to pick up all those phone calls. They always been having those huge backlogs, and then when you begin to have that backlog of phone calls, then it's just increasing and increasing. And normally every Monday the manager during weekly meeting was saying to the CEO, I need more people in my call center. I need more and more. We are not able to answer all the phone calls. And he understood that it's not about the people. Senior manager actually understood that it's because we're not able to design our system in the way so we are not receiving those phone calls. It's kind of counterintuitive. You wouldn't think, you wouldn't notice that first. You probably would just come in and look at those KPIs and begin to judge people. The other thing, that 1 minute phone call is just completely out of range. I was trying to make it happen myself. I had a script in front of me and I needed to ask a patient certain kind of questions to make sure if I need to send him the ambulance with a paramedic, or if I need to send him just the ambulance as a transportation to get him to a doctor as soon as possible. It's just nonsense. And they made that 1 minute phone call out of the blue sky. It's not if when we ask them how on earth you've got to that number, it's just because someone did some benchmarking in different kind of industries, and this is a good number, we thought. But it's not about the number. The people who are sitting up here, they're not even educated in the healthcare. they need some expertise in order to ask the questions, and maybe they can even make it. It's not about the length. It's about solving the problem for the customer. So senior managers, after those 14 days, they've been reflecting quite a lot and made huge changes. And what they reflected mostly was that we have been so obsessed by controlling our efficiency without actually understanding what the efficiency is. And that lack of knowledge has driven our costs up. Now we see it. It's a public company. It's a public company which doesn't actually make any money. If every year they finish on zero, then they're really clapping their hands. So the cost is really critical. And since they've been focusing on local efficiencies like utilization of cars, they are highly utilized. Oh yeah, they are. They're driving all the way and all year round, but half of the time empty. And then dead mileages, and why these dead mileages happens, it's not because of that chauffeurs are not able to plan the routes. It's because the hospitals are not dealing with the service level agreement they've signed, and as well that there is no expertise in a call center, and as well very little people in a call center. So what they did, they actually took the people from the route planning unit, placed them up here to increase the capacity, and every Monday now, from now on, all the senior level and middle managers are actually coming to take the phones and understand the demand coming from people living in Wales. Okay, this is the Lithuanian company, and it's the Cargus company. It is the ground handling company operating from Vilnius airport. And if you ever had been flying or landing to Vilnius, and from all the way from ticket sales to boarding on your plane, you probably met them somewhere in your journey towards the plane or towards your luggage. So that company had or still has a big problem, and the problem is called that 40% of employee turnover is leaving the company just after the training, and that training is quite expensive, and they try to do everything possible, and it's just they say we don't understand what is going on. So we've been here only for one day, trying to make the impossible possible. But what we did in that one day, we gathered managers from 9 different companies. So both the managers of this company been participating, but as well the managers from other 9 companies. And what we did, we studied not the customer journey in this case, but we studied the employee journey, since the problem was the employee turnover. And what we figured out that the purpose of management, how management of this company been setting the expectations towards the employee, and the purpose of people willing to work was completely different. While company expected the employee to stay within the company at least for 2 years, the employees expected this company to be as a short bridge towards the future career. If any of you are from ear industry, it's quite a high passion within the ear industry, and people feel very passionate to work there. And that created lots of different processes, which actually way more overloaded and way more expensive than it should be if we would look from the people willing to work. So all the hiring and all the searching and all the training process is very, very long. Only the training process is 3 weeks from once you've got signed the employee contract. If I am hired by this company, then for 3 weeks I will sit on the training bench, and it's nothing with the practice. It's only pure theory, and theory, which is just incredible and impossible even for me to understand and to get under my skin. So it's just incredible that they still do that conventional kind of training, and a completely unflexible work schedules for the employees. If I'm the employee, I cannot even plan my private life. It can be quite difficult for me to have to go to yoga, to do tennis, to do whatever it's needed with my family and for me, since I can be called to work tomorrow, even though today I came home and I thought, okay, that's it, my shift is over. So very unflexible work schedules, which been frightening people a lot. So it took a day, and we made it possible, but it was a bunch of people with us that day. So when they reflected, the senior managers of this company, they said that we understood our problem before. However, the leverage point was not obvious for us. It looks like our inside-out defined purpose causes our current focus. The vicious cycle always starts with the purpose. And if the purpose is designed or defined outside in, then it's good. Outside in, meaning from the customer's perspective. If you are defining it inside out from your own perspective, then you either be very innovative and find the solution which is solving the problem of the customer. Otherwise, you will fail to deliver the value, and it's gonna increase the operating expenses because your processes will be designed in a not good way. It's not gonna be that much flow for the customer. We love Deming, Edwards Deming, and he is one of our famous teachers, and he is the guru and the father of quality management and lean. He said once that manager's job is to act upon the system, and if management designed the system, they can redesign it too. And I think he's right. We actually are human beings, and if we don't even look at our title as managers, we are capable of creating businesses, and we are capable of creating all the processes. So if we have created top-down approach company, even though our intention was to have lean and to engage people, to have a purpose, to be fast, changing company, we are able to change that. In order to make it happen, I already showed you this recipe of end-to-end customer journey done by managers, and now it's a theoretical model. So if you have phones, you can take pictures of it. It will help you a lot if you will want to make the intervention with the senior level managers and walk that end-to-end customer journey by yourself. So first, where you always start, it is start with the purpose from the customer's point of view. Decide the product line you want to study, and try to define the purpose, being from the customer's, being in the customer's shoes. The second thing is listen, and really listen, read, observe, whatever it takes, the demand coming to your business, to that service or to that product. If it's emails, then read thousands of emails. If you need, just read it. It really helps. Listen to phone calls, observe, but don't judge. Really, here in this journey, you cannot judge your people. If you begin to judge your people, or if your senior level managers begin to judge your people, then you will not, that wall from phase 2 to phase 3, it's gonna just increase in size. So the second step mentioned demand. So we need to study demand and understand what is value and what is failure, what matters for the customer. Then you need to draw the end-to-end customer journey, and up here you will need lots of walls, like lots, depending on how big or how complex your product is or service, but normally you will need more than one room. And you need to understand where in the system we have capacity constraint resources, of in simple words, bottlenecks, and how we work around bottlenecks, how the work is scheduled around bottlenecks. What is the criteria? How the sales are defining that criteria? How production is defining that criteria? How supply chain is, and so on and so on. It's very important. Every business has bottlenecks, and if you're not focusing on it, you will create more variation in your system. And the fourth step is what are our own system conditions. And up here we begin to work with the more invisible side of management. So we are looking at our current targets and measures and aligning them with the customer's purpose. And we're trying to answer whether those current measures are helping us to speed up the flow of the customer and actually get the money as fast as possible, because the business needs to earn money now and in the future, and how current measures help us to engage people. Do people understand why they're measured like this? And what is happening to those people when the measure is red? And how we are reacting as managers when we see a KPI as red. And then the fifth step is the one which is completely changing the mindset of senior level managers. Once they've been through phase step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, it's probably already the second day or maybe the third day, depending on, again, the complexity of your product line or service stream. So the question, what are our underlying management beliefs destroying the flow, and what are our numbers right now and measures which we're making the decisions upon, and how our current thinking is supporting the work in silos. This is where you as change agents and lean managers are making the intervention with the mindsets. This is where it's not you bringing them the answers on the golden plate, since it's not gonna change anything. You will just do yourself, just create much more resistance. But on this step, they are able to answer those questions and to pinpoint the leverage points where the change is actually emergent. And you probably all, when you've been small, been reading about the Little Prince. The story about the Little Prince. I'm reading it quite a lot for my son. When he showed that hat, or that elephant, to an adult assumed that this is a hat. So that story very much reminds me every time when we go with the senior and middle managers to study the system, that it's not the things we see, it's the things we don't see. The things we see is so easy to just go into the company and see. But once you take the journey with the holistic glasses from the customer's perspective, and you really study what matters for the customer, you really study the purpose from the customer's lips, not the purpose defined from the top-down approach, but the purpose from the customer's lips. You are trying to understand the value and tailor demand. You're trying to be critical to your functional arbitrary measures. You will go down all the way to your underlying management beliefs, and you will find so many of these. And I don't really want to raise my tail up here, but Beckingham University Master in Lean Enterprise Education is for consultants, and we're 11 people who've been working with companies for many years, and I'm the youngest one of all. And it's still, for all of them, is a miracle. Sort of that study recipe. It is a miracle, helping to accelerate the change, because after that there are lots of things you can just go back and do yourself without any consultant at all. So we are almost finishing, but I have a very good surprise for you at the very end. And we want to wish you in 2018 to be brave, but as well to be humble and push the traditional management beliefs and limits so they can appreciate the system and improve it. And this is why the heart and the palms, the hand palms, showing that a company is not a linear system, and we cannot expect to put loads of targets and measures and try to remove ourselves from processes and have a remote control and push the buttons and believe that people are going to behave the way we want. It's not going to happen like that. And for those who are Lithuanians, you can go to our homepage, improvement.lt, and you will find end-to-end customer journey together with the managers, and you can read much more about it. And for those who are English speaking, we have our blog. So you can as well read some of the blog, like why lean management fails and moving from traditional to holistic management. And maybe you will find some more ideas to catch on. And this is the proposal. We are selecting 2 companies for 2018 June month to make end-to-end customer journey at your company. And why we do that? It is because in June we are holding our Lean Master Summer School, first time in Lithuania. It's not yet announced, but we are already seeking for the companies who would let us in, together with the different managers of different organizations. And as well, we will include your senior managers, you and some of your middle managers, to study that journey. There are some terms, of course, and like one of the terms is that it needs to be based in Lithuania, but there are some other terms too. But if you are interested in actually getting this end-to-end journey done by us at your company, together with the eyes as well from different managers from different companies, write me now, really now, because we know that that ticket will be gone very fast. So write me now or latest tomorrow morning who are willing, and I will respond. So we want to select 1 company within service and 1 from manufacturing, but let's see if we will find 2 from you, then we will do it 2 service companies. And my email is lg@improvement.lt. And thank you all for being with us. It was my first webinar in English, so sorry if I was not able to pronounce something very correctly, but I hope you understood it anyway. So have a good evening, and I hope to hear from you soon. Goodbye.